important decision in 8 minutes. Not because I'm fast, and definitely not because I'm naturally decisive. I'm not. But I found a method that works every single time. And I have the neuroscience to explain exactly why. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact 3 questions I use and why writing them by hand matters more than you think, and what happens in your brain when you skip this step. By the end, you will have a thinking method you can use today and every day on anything that is currently sitting on your plate unresolved. So do stay with me. This is worth 8 minutes of your time. I'm Gwen Bach, and I have a master's degree in applied neuroscience, and I am the founder of Applied Brain Lab, where I study how modern environments, how they shape decision-making in ambitious professionals and business owners. And what I keep on finding over and over again is this. The problem is almost never the decision itself. The problem is the state your brain is in while you're making this decision or when you try to make the decision. So let me ask you something personal, just between you and me. Do you have a decision right now that you have been sitting on for longer than it deserves? It doesn't need to be a life-altering one necessarily. Maybe something medium, a conversation you need to have, a hire you keep almost making, or a project you haven't committed to or haven't killed yet. Something that should take 20 minutes to resolve and has somehow been on your mental to-do list for quite a while now, maybe a week or 2 or 3. If you do, I would like you to keep that specific decision in mind for this video, because by the end you are going to run this method on it, and most of the time people discover they already knew the answer, they just couldn't access it. The gap between knowing and being able to access what you know is exactly what this method is designed to close for you. And here's what most of us don't realize. The reason you're stuck on that decision is almost certainly not a lack of information. And it's not that you need to spend more time thinking about it either. In fact, thinking about it more is probably making it worse for you. And there is a very specific reason for that, rooted in how your brain allocates cognitive resources under load. And I will get more into that in a moment. First, let me show you what the method actually looks like. So 3 things in this video. 1, why your brain gets stuck on decisions that should be simple and why more thinking is often the wrong solution. 2, why writing by hand is not optional in this method. There is real research on this and it changes the way the exercise works. 3, the 3 questions themselves, with the mechanism behind each, so you understand not just what to do, but also why it works. You have probably heard about Daniel Kahneman's System 1 and System 2 thinking. System 1 is fast and automatic, pattern-based. System 2 is slow, deliberate, effortful. Kahneman's work shows that we default to System 1 whenever we can because System 2 is expensive. It costs cognitive resources. So here's what happens on a busy day. Your brain is managing a full workload, emails, meetings, context switching, problems to solve, and all of that consumes working memory, which is the limited mental space you have available for active processing. And as that working memory fills up, your brain does something very predictable. It starts offloading decisions to System 1, the automatic, fast, pattern-based system. And the critical point, the one that most people completely miss, is that this switching happens without us noticing. You do not feel less capable and you don't feel like you're operating on less. Subjectively, the thinking feels exactly the same. But the research on this is very clear. Cognitive degradation under load occurs without our awareness. You can be significantly impaired in the quality of your deliberate reasoning and feel completely fine. So you sit down to make a decision after a full day of cognitive demand, and you feel like you're thinking clearly. You're not. You're running on a pattern match against previous decisions, previous fear and outcomes. You're not actually reasoning about this specific situation in front of you. You're just reacting to it. And that is why more thinking does not help. More thinking in that state is just more of system one, more automatic processing dressed up pretending to be deliberation. What you need is a way to bring system 2 back online, deliberately, manually. And this is exactly what the 8-minute decision is about. Now, let me explain to you why you do this by hand and not on paper, or on your phone, or in some app. And definitely not typed into a document. This is not about being analog just for the sake of it. There is very specific research on what happens neurologically when you write by hand versus when you type. A 2025 systematic review published in Frontiers in Neurology found that handwriting activates a broader network of brain regions than typing. It engages fine motor control, visuospatial integration, and semantic processing simultaneously. Typing is more superficial. It is faster, which means it bypasses some of the cognitive processing that slower handwriting forces you to do. So when you write by hand, you are not just recording a thought. You are processing it more deeply. You are giving it more neural resources. And that deeper processing is exactly what we need when we are trying to access deliberate thinking rather than automatic reaction. And there's something else. Handwriting is slower than your thought. And that gap between the speed of your thinking and the speed of your hand is where something useful happens. You cannot write fast enough to outrun your own reflection. You're forced to stay with what you're writing, to actually think about what you're putting down. So the pen is not a stylistic choice, it's a functional one. It's part of why this method works so well. Before I walk you through the 3 questions, I want to tell you about something I built that is completely free. Most people who try this method get immediate results, but some people find that even when they slow down and write, their thinking still feels foggy. And this is usually not a method problem, it's an environment problem. The conditions surrounding every decision you make, your sleep, your schedule, the cognitive load across your day, they all determine whether your brain is even capable of deliberate thinking before you pick up the pen. I built a 10-question diagnostic called the Decision Environment Assessment. It takes about 5 minutes and it tells you exactly where your decision conditions are breaking down. It's completely free and the link is below in the description. And I would take it before you do the method that I'm about to teach you, because it will tell you when in your day this method will work best for you specifically. Again, the link is below. And now let's start with the 3 questions. You will need a pen and a piece of paper or notebook and set a timer to 8 minutes. And the timer matters. And I will explain why after the questions. Question 1. What am I actually deciding right now? And this might sound obvious. It is not. Most stuck decisions are not actually a single decision. There are 3 or 4 decisions tangled together into one overwhelming mass. You think you're deciding whether to hire someone, but actually you're simultaneously deciding whether the business can afford it, whether you can trust your own judgment, whether now this is the right time to grow, or whether you're ready to accept the responsibility that comes with it. 4 decisions fused into one. And under cognitive load, your brain does this. It fuses related problems together. And a fused problem feels impossible to solve, because it is. You cannot solve 4 things at once. So question 1 forces separation. You write at the top of the page, what am I actually deciding right now? And you write your answer. Not the context or the background, the single choice that is in front of you. This alone will often produce immediate clarity. Question 2. How do I want to decide this right now? And here you write the raw, honest, unfiltered answer, your gut feeling, not what you think you should do, not what would look good to other people, what your gut in this moment is actually pointing towards. This is your present state capture. It includes whatever reactive impulses are there, whatever fear or desire is driving that automatic response, and you don't judge it, you're just writing it down. Get it out of your head and onto paper where you can see it. Question 3. How would I have wanted to decide this in 90 days from now? And this is the most important question. And it works because of a well-documented psychological mechanism. When we think about our own decisions, we are too close to them. We are inside the emotion and inside the pressure and the fear of getting it wrong. But when we think about other people's decisions, or when we think about a decision from a future vantage point, we get distance. And that distance activates more deliberate reasoning. Kahneman's work touches on this, and research on temporal distancing shows consistently that projecting yourself forward changes the quality of your reasoning. You stop optimizing for how to feel okay today and start reasoning about what you actually want to be true. So you write the answer to question 3. And then this is the point, you look at the gap between question 2 and 3. That gap is information. If your answers match, great, you are aligned. Make the decision. If they don't match, that gap is showing you something important. It is showing you the difference between what your automatic system wants to do right now, under the current load, under pressure, and what your deliberate system actually thinks is right. And that is not a problem to solve immediately. It is data. It tells you that this decision needs more space, or a different state, or a conversation before you act. Why 8 minutes? Specific enough to feel designed, short enough that nobody can honestly say they don't have the time, and long enough to shift brain state from reactive to deliberate. The research on working memory and attentional control shows that when we deliberately slow down and engage in structured written reflection, we give system 2 the conditions it needs to come back online. The constraint of the timer creates enough pressure to move, but not so much pressure that you spiral. 8 minutes is the very functional window we use. And here's what I want you to take away from this video that goes beyond the 3 questions. Your brain is not a stable thinking machine. It's a resource constrained system that changes state constantly, usually without telling you. The quality of your thinking at 9 a.m. is not the same as the quality of your thinking at 4 p.m. on a day with 6 meetings. The quality of your thinking on a quiet Tuesday is not the same as the quality of your thinking in the middle of a stressful week. And that means the decision is not just what you are deciding, it is also when and in what state and with what cognitive resources available. The 8-minute decision does not make you a better thinker. It puts you in the conditions for the thinking you already are capable of. And that is a completely different frame. And once you have that frame, you stop wondering why you keep second-guessing yourself. You start asking a better question. What state was I in when I made that call? That question changes everything. Pick up a pen, write the 3 questions, and set the timer. That decision you have been sitting on for a few weeks, you already know the answer. You just need the right conditions to hear it. The 3 questions formatted for print are available as a free download below. If you want the full system behind this method, including what happens across 7 days when you apply it to every stuck decision you're currently carrying, The link for that is also in the description below.